The series begins with a mysterious scene where a broken raft drifts in the water, carrying what looks like a dead man's body. A fisherman searching for an octopus stumbles upon it and casually swipes the man's watch. We jump to a courtroom hearing where He Il-do represents Daesan Group, which is facing scrutiny over irregularities in an energy project under Daesan Energy. Seo Dong-ju is present too, sporting the same watch seen earlier. He is feeding live updates from the hearing to an old man watching from home, who quickly orders him to shut down the hearing. In a flashback, Dong-ju meets Assemblyman Nam Sang-cheol, trying to bribe him with boxes of US dollars straight from Chairman Cha Gang-cheon in exchange for adjourning the hearing. Things go sideways when the Assemblyman's nephew beats him up and finds a hidden camera on Dong-ju. But Dong-ju is not deterred. He convinces Nam to talk privately and reveals a second hidden camera planted on the man's cat bell. Busted and cornered, Nam signs a document to agree that he received dirty money from Daesan. Back in the present, as Dong-ju signals with the bell holding the camera, Nam creates a distraction mid-session, which leads to a fight and the adjournment of the hearing. The old man on the phone is thrilled, and even Il-do praises Dong-ju's crafty execution. Il-do returns to his grand estate and greets his wife, Deok-hui, Chairman Cha's daughter. Meanwhile, Dong-ju waits in Cha's office, opens a safe, and pulls out 2 bottles of soju. Il-do walks in, clearly bitter, and a flashback reveals that when the energy scandal broke, Chairman Cha called Dong-ju first, not him. The 3 men drink together, but the vibe is tense. When Deok-hui walks in, she asks Dong-ju to leave so the real family can talk. Il-do then shares that Yang Jang-seon has made a direct offer, which is unusual, since he usually goes through Dong-ju. This makes it kind of obvious that Dong-ju is being sidelined. Later we meet Yeo Eun-nam, a Daesan Energy employee. Dong-ju gets summoned by the chairman, but not before sharing a meaningful look with Eun-nam. Inside, he is stunned to see the old man from earlier, Yeom Jang-seon, alive and well, joined by Chairman Cha and Il-do. They slip into a secret room hidden behind a wall to discuss a chemical sector merger, and Yeom Jang-seon makes a call to seal the deal. That night, Dong-ju returns home to Eun-nam. Over dinner, they joke about the watch and how it is a fake. Dong-ju gets a call from his boss, Chief Gi-hyun, who says the chairman's granddaughter is flying in from the US for her wedding. Dong-ju agrees to help plan it. Gi-hyun nudges him about his past with the granddaughter, and even Eun-nam brings up how Dong-ju once planned to go to the US for her, until he met Eun-nam and stayed. The next day, Dong-ju finds Cha Geuk-hui, Chairman Cha's other daughter, waiting in his office. She offers him power if he backs her, but he stays loyal to the chairman. When he meets with Chairman Cha again, the talk turns to possibly promoting Il-do to vice chairman, a move that rattles Dong-ju. Dong-ju is told to gather board feedback, and he has to join Il-do on a helicopter and eventually tells him about his mission. After traveling for a few days, he returns to a warm welcome from Eun-nam at the office. But work pulls him away almost immediately, and her smile fades. Gi-hyun is annoyed about Il-do's rise, and Dong-ju proposes a power play deal, saying he will back Gi-hyun for president of Daesan Energy if he supports him to lead the chemical division. Later, at home, Dong-ju and Eun-nam share a romantic bath, but she makes cryptic comments about breaking up, and he jokes about showing up with another woman if she dumps him. Suddenly, things take a dark turn as Dong-ju collapses after eating a sandwich. Eun-nam panics and rushes him to the hospital. In another flashback, Dong-ju was once set to deliver persimmons to Chairman Cha's daughter, Jennifer He, in New York. But when he spotted Eun-nam listening to music, he was smitten. She later scolded him for reporting her mistake to the chairman, but instead of arguing, he asked her out to dinner and chose to stay. Back to the present, Dong-ju wakes up in the hospital, and it turns out he is allergic to cinnamon, and the sandwich bread had just that. Eun-nam is upset, as she wanted the night to be special. They return home and end up in bed together. The next morning, Dong-ju gets a call from Secretary Gong that he is needed at Jennifer's wedding. He gets dressed, picks a box of diamond rings he has bought, and texts Eun-nam about dinner plans, but she is nowhere to be seen. At the wedding venue, Dong-ju and Chairman Cha arrive. Dong-ju runs into Yeom Hui-cheol, who is Yeom Jang-seon's nephew and Dong-ju's old high school rival. They clearly still don't like each other. Dong-ju is stunned to learn Hui-cheol is the groom, and then, in the twist of all twists, the bride walks in, and it's Yeo Eun-nam. Jennifer He is Eun-nam. Dong-ju is utterly shattered. Security steps in to hold him back as Eun-nam walks down the aisle. leaving him devastated and speechless. In a flashback, Yoon-nam is prepping for her big wedding, and Il-do steps in, and we find out he was her late father's best friend. Yoon-nam is the daughter of Deok-hui and her first husband, who died in the same accident Il-do survived. Now married to her mom, Il-do casually drops that they both know about Yoon-nam's relationship with Dongju. He asks if Dongju's going to cause problems, but Yoon-nam reassures him that Dongju isn't the clingy type. Back to the present, Dongju isn't having a great day. He gets dragged away and locked in a tiny room, but Yoon-nam had planned. She had scheduled a text that hit his phone. In it, she tells him to move on, find someone else, and get revenge. She insists he deserves better. Eventually, Dongju is let out, as long as he promises not to stir up drama. He runs into Eun-nam, and things get ugly as he cusses her out and throws her watch back at her. She tells him the watch is legit, not a fake. Yoon-nam says she chose this marriage for Daesan, and when Dongju asks if she loves her fiancé, she coldly replies that love has nothing to do with the kind of marriage she's signing up for. She walks away, saying he should use the watch as she does not want anyone to see the tattoo on his wrist. Dongju just stands there, staring at the watch before picking it up and walking away. Dongju goes to church to visit Sister Agnes, who seems like family. She calls him Stephanus and comforts him after hearing he got dumped. Not long after, he receives a call from Chairman Cha and is sent to grab Soju for office safety. Cue a flashback to 8 years ago. Dongju and Gi-hyun had once met the chairman to expose a report error at Daesan Energy. When Dongju agreed to drink soju with a raw egg, which is the chairman's weird loyalty test, he got a glimpse of the safe and its contents. That's when we learn Dongju has a photographic memory. But now, back to the present, when he tries to open that same safe, the code has been changed. Back at the Cha residence, the staff is setting up a guest room, apparently at Yoon-nam's request. She later runs into her brother Tae-yun and her mom and realizes they also know about her and Dongju. At dinner, just to make things messier, Chairman Cha invites Dongju to join the family meal. The next morning, Dongju wakes up with a hangover and learns he drank a lot the night before. At work, he checks out a hidden safe in the secret meeting room and tries to open it, but he is also unable to open that too. Chairman Cha shows up at this point, and it turns out he knows everything about Dongju and Yoon-nam, and Dongju asks why the chairman invited him to the wedding. In a flashback, Yeom Jang-seon tells the chairman about Yoon-nam and Dongju, suggesting that he should kick Dongju out in exchange for keeping the wedding on track. Back to the present, Chairman Cha says he wanted to see if Dongju had an agenda, and Dongju admits that he knows of Jennifer He as the chairman's granddaughter. He says he plans to go on a business trip to New York, where she is, and convince her to marry him so he can rise in ranks at Daesan. But a day before his trip, he met Yoon-nam, and he decided to choose her. Dongju lays it all out and offers to resign, but Cha refuses. Instead, he takes Dongju on a little road trip to a bakery, of all places. Turns out one of the employees is Ji Young-soo, a missing former news anchor, and the other is her son, Ji Seon-woo, who also happens to be Chairman Cha's secret son. The chairman plans to make Seon-woo a legit heir. Meanwhile, Deok-hui puts 2 and 2 together and realizes Tae-yun is tight with Dongju. A flashback reveals Tae-yun had even helped Dongju learn the violin, just to impress Yoon-nam, and that's when he learned the truth about their relationship. Il-do, still plotting, tells Chairman Cha to get rid of Dongju, but Dongju's not done. Armed with new safe codes, he cracks the inner safe and grabs a load of cash and gold bars. He hands them to Yeom Jang-seon, who immediately recognizes the bribe, payment from the chairman to keep Dongju on board. Even though Dongju swears he's not going to get in Eun-nam's way, Yeom's not convinced. Before Dongju leaves, Yeom's guy brings up a situation involving manager Yu from Daesan. Dongju follows up, heading straight to Yu's house, and the door is unlocked, which is never a good sign. Inside, a man with a knife attacks him, and in the scuffle, Dongju spots manager Yu's dead body. He eventually knocks the attacker out, but then the guy's phone rings. Dongju picks it up and hears a chilling question from the caller, asking if Dongju is dead. Dongju sits in his car as he attends to his wounds, and he is waiting for the caller to show. It turns out to be Cheon Gu-ho, one of Jang Seon's right-hand men. Dongju hits Gu-ho with his car and takes him straight to Yeom Jang-seon's home to confront the big boss. Dongju starts off begging for his life, but Jang Seon is not moved. He then informs Jang Seon that he had swiped 39 billion won from the National Patriotic Slush Fund, and if Jang Seon lets him live, he will return the cash and vanish without a trace. To prove he's serious, Dongju transfers part of the money and promises the rest once he's guaranteed safety. On his way out, he bumps into Yoon Nam and steals a kiss. When he gets home, he finds a tracker under his car, confirming that someone is definitely keeping tabs. In his room, he makes a call to a woman, asking to borrow a big chunk of cash. She tells him to come to her place, and Dongju leaves to meet her, but he leaves the tracker in the parking lot as a decoy. Dongju gets to the lady's office, and her name is Myung Taegum's office. He explains that he downloaded a hacking program from her website and planted it on Jang Seon's laptop, without Jang Seon or Guho catching on. They plot to use it to siphon funds straight from the Slush account, and she gives him 2 burner phones. Dongju uses one to call Jang Seon, telling him he sent another batch of the money. Jang Seon logs in to check, and boom, Dongju catches a glimpse of the password. Dongju pays a visit to Ji Seon-woo and his mother, Ji Yong-soo. He tells Yong-soo that Chairman Cha wants Seon-woo to take his surname, and he's planning to make it happen. He tells them to reach out if they need help. Seon-woo quietly follows Dongju as he leaves. Later, Dongju casually shows Chairman Cha some selfies with Seon-woo, claiming they hung out. He also asks for some time off, and Cha invites him to a family lunch. Yoon Nam shows up, sporting a nasty bruise that has everyone worried, but not for long, as Hui Chol limps in with a busted foot, clearly courtesy of Yoon Nam. He begs her to come home and grabs her wrist, snapping the bracelet Dongju had given her. That reveals a tattoo, her name, matching the one Dongju has, and Hui Cheol notices it. Chairman Cha picks up on the tension and orders Dongju to leave. He talks to Yoon Nam alone and tells Hui Cheol to stay for now. But Dongju didn't really leave, and once Hui Cheol's gone, he sneaks back in, hugs Yoon Nam, and slips her one of the burner phones. Yoon Nam's parents visit, and she confesses that the fight with Hui Cheol was about Dongju. He suspected something, and she told him the truth, but her parents urged her to stick with Hui Cheol. Meanwhile, someone anonymously sends Deokhui photos of Dongju and Seon-woo together, and this makes her and Ildo worried. Back home, Dongju gets a call from Taegyum, saying she is ready. He rings up Jang Seon, saying he has returned the rest of the 39 billion won. Jang Seon confirms and tells Dongju to let the past go. Right after, Dongju logs into the Swiss account and changes the password. He calls Taegyum to confirm payment. Then we hear him call Yoon Nam, telling her he'll be waiting. Now he is on a boat at sea. Dongju takes a swim, gets dressed, and heads for shore. He waits for hours, even plays basketball with a kid to pass the time. From a cab nearby, Yoon Nam watches but tells him on the phone she is not coming. Still, she starts walking toward him until Guho and his goons show up, shove her back in the cab, and drive off, but Dongju doesn't notice a thing. He goes back to the boat, puts on the wedding suit he bought, and records a video of himself playing violin for Yoon Nam, and he even shows her fixed bracelet to the camera. While he sips a drink, another boat pulls up, and bullets fly, and the shooter is none other than Ildo. Dongju dives into the water but gets shot as he tries to escape. We cut to Jang Seon cleaning the gun Ildo used and saying he took it with him after his service, reasoning that he might need it one day. Jang Seon praises Ildo for taking out Dongju in the service of the fund, though Dongju's body hasn't been found. Jang Seon promises payment, but when Guho tries to access the fund, he realizes something has gone wrong, and Dongju has changed the password. This makes Jang Seon freak out and blame Ildo, saying he must find a way to refund the 2 trillion. Turns out, he has drone footage of Ildo's assassination stunt and uses it for leverage. Meanwhile, a fisherman stumbles on Dongju floating on a raft, and thinking he is dead, the guy swipes his watch. But to his shock, Dongju later shows up at the man's home and collapses. Back on the criminal side, Ildo tells Jang Seon he can access Chairman Cha's slush fund. If that fails, Jang Seon says they'll have to sell Dsun Energy. Turns out, it was Chairman Cha himself who dragged Nam back home. Later, Ildo returns to the Cha house during a family meal, sneaks into the chairman's office, and steals a book with the inner safe code. But when he tries it, it doesn't work. He laughs like a madman, then yells that Dongju had better rise from the dead. And at the fisherman's house, Dongju opens his eyes. Dongju jolts awake from a nightmare, and he is still in the fisherman's home. But things get sketchy real quick when the man returns and injects him with something. Over at the Cha residence, we find out that Secretary Gong had seen Ildo hiding in the chairman's office when he stole the note with the safe codes. Meanwhile, Ildo and Chairman Cha talk business. The chairman is frustrated with Jang Seon, calling him a leech who keeps demanding more money. He tells Ildo to grab some cash from the inner safe and appease him for now. The chairman pulls out the same slip with the code and tells Ildo to snap a picture. Later, while working out, Ildo spots someone on the estate grounds and momentarily thinks it's Dongju. Deok-hui shows up and tells him that Yom Jang-seon caught Yoon-nam trying to leave town with Dongju. She says they can't kill Dongju, but they do need to find a way to remove him from Daesan. Meanwhile, Dongju keeps having the same haunting nightmare of someone walking toward him, calling him Song-hyun, while wearing a particular pair of shoes. When he wakes, he is bandaged and tells the fisherman he's hungry. Elsewhere, Cha Guk-hui sneaks into the chairman's office and digs around for the safe code, and she eventually finds it tucked inside a pen holder. The next morning, Chairman Cha and Ildo return to the office. Ildo tells him the code didn't work, and the chairman remembers he gave Dongju a different one, but when he looks for the note, the pen holder is empty. He tells Ildo they'll delay paying Jang-seon until Dongju returns. Back at the fisherman's place, the man apologizes for not taking Dongju to the hospital and says he needs to stay off the cops' radar. He introduces himself as Baewon Bae, but also goes by Jang Il-nam. Dongju says his name is Seong-hyun, but clearly doesn't remember much. Il-nam takes him to the shoreline where he was found, which triggers some fragmented memories. Ildo visits Jang-seon and brings 2 boxes full of cash. But Jang-seon instantly knows the money didn't come from the chairman's safe. This makes him furious, and he threatens to flip Daesan upside down. Meanwhile, Il-nam gives Dongju back his belongings, his suit, watch, Yoon-nam's bracelet, and his phone, which Dongju turns on. Back at Yoon-nam's place, Hui-cheol makes an unexpected appearance. Deok-hui warns Yoon-nam that if she refuses to return to Hui-cheol, Chairman Cha wants her to give up her company shares. Yoon-nam hurries to confront her grandfather, just as Dongju calls her. Hui-cheol answers the phone instead. He recognizes Dongju's voice and snaps, hurling insults before the call ends abruptly when the phone sparks and shuts off, which leaves Dongju even more confused. Chairman Cha later tells Yoon-nam she can't have it both ways. Either she picks Daesan or she picks Dongju. Meanwhile, Hui-cheol gives Yoon-nam's phone to Deok-hui and recounts the call. Secretary Gong overhears and is visibly shaken when she hears the name Seong-hyun. In the end, Yoon-nam agrees to return with Hui-cheol. At Daesan, an employee tips off Ildo that the secretary's office spoke to the Coast Guard about Dongju. Ildo tells the chairman that the Coast Guard figured out that Dongju rented a yacht and never brought it back. Chairman Cha orders Ildo to locate him ASAP. Il-nam and Dongju look online for news of any car crashes but come up empty. They take Dongju's phone to get it repaired. That night, Deok-hui gives the phone to Ildo and urges him to call Dongju and set him straight. When she explains Hui-cheol's reaction to the call, Ildo looks stunned. He calls the number and hears Dongju's voice, but Dongju, not knowing who's on the line, accuses Ildo of trying to kill him. The phone dies again. Ildo reports the call to Jang-shun, who's thrilled, and he sees a shot at finally getting his money. He sends Guho and Ildo to retrieve Dongju immediately. They take off in a helicopter. Since Dongju believes he was in a car crash where a vehicle went over a cliff, Il-nam takes him to the nearest cliffside road, but there is no trace of an accident. Later, Il-nam finds Dongju's abandoned yacht. As he inspects it, his boat sails past Dongju, but Dongju doesn't recognize him or the boat. Meanwhile, Jang-seon has his goons set up a torture room, prepping for Dongju's return. Guho and his men track Dongju to the phone repair shop, and out on the water again, Il-nam passes the yacht, and this time, Ildo recognizes Dongju. He leaps into the water while trying to get his attention, and Dongju jumps in too, to save him from drowning, but he still does not recognize Ildo. Paramedics arrive, and Ildo is hospitalized, while Dongju returns to Il-nam's place, but falls ill with a fever. Guho is hot on their trail, though, but luckily, the repair shop guy tips Il-nam off that someone is searching for Dongju. Guho and his men storm Il-nam's place, but it's empty, and they assume Dongju and Il-nam escaped through the back. After they leave, we see the two emerge from a hidden compartment inside the house. This time, they make a real escape, and Il-nam peels off his beard, revealing it was fake all along. Back in the city, Yoon-nam and Hui-cheol visit a tailor shop to pick up the suits Deok-hui ordered for him, and as they leave, they spot Dongju at the counter. He is showing a suit, the one he was found in, to a saleswoman and asking for information, but she refuses to give him any. Yoon-nam calls out to him, and Dongju turns, but he does not recognize her. Dongju realizes that Yun-nam and Huichul recognize him and reveal he has no memory of who he is. Yun-nam hands him a phone, promising to call him later, but behind her back, Huichul texts Dongju's location to Guho. Guho quickly loops in Jang-seon. He rushes to the store and spots Dongju just as he is stepping out, but one of the saleswomen calls Dongju back inside. Meanwhile, over at Chairman Cha's place, his doctors drop a bombshell that his brain is shrinking due to a medical condition. Back at the shop, when Guho's colleague goes in to check on Dongju, he has already vanished. Turns out, Dongju's now eating at a nearby restaurant. Coincidentally the same one where Chairman Cha is dining with Dosu, his son-in-law and a top neurosurgeon. Dongju slips out unnoticed, but the restaurant owner recognizes him and alerts Chairman Cha, who immediately rushes out in pursuit. Dongju gets a call from Eun-nam, who tells him his real name and identity. She gives him an address and tells him to meet her there that night. Dongju remembers what the saleswoman at the shop said earlier, that he had planned a trip with his bride, whom she believes is Eun-nam, and had even asked for a different exit route, just to be cautious. Meanwhile, Guho tracks Dongju down at a park, but before he can make a move, Chairman Cha shows up again. He is stunned to see Dongju alive but amnesiac. Sensing something off, Dongju notices Guho and his team lurking and bolts. Cue a flashback. Yun-nam once tried to take her own life, believing Deok-hwee had Il-do kill her father, Sun-ho. Deok-hwee denies it, but Yun-nam accuses her of shipping her off to the US to keep the truth buried. In the present, Yun-nam confronts Deok-hwee for the burner phone she's been using to talk to Dongju. Deok-hwee says Il-do has it. Surprisingly, Il-do hands it over without protest. Later, it's Huicheol's birthday, and Chairman Cha has arranged a family dinner. But when he returns home, he is momentarily confused about the event. Awkward silence and all, until he remembers what day it is. Il-do quietly informs Jang-seon that Yun-nam has asked Dongju to come to the house that night. Elsewhere, Dongju finally puts two and two together. Il-do was the one who shot him during that dramatic water rescue. That night, Dongju shows up at the Cha residence, Yun-nam lets him in, and he introduces himself as Seong-hyun. The name stuns Secretary Gong so much, she drops Huicheol's birthday cake. Chairman Cha pulls Dongju aside for a private chat, but before heading off, Dongju returns Yun-nam's phone. In Cha's office, Dongju sits down with Cha, Il-do, and Dosu, admitting he's starting to get memory flashes. Chairman Cha urges him to get hospitalized immediately, and Dongju agrees. Later, Deok-hwee checks in with Secretary Gong, asking if the name Seong-hyun meant anything. Gong brushes it off, saying it's a common name. Deok-hwee plays along but ominously says, "That child is dead." At the hospital, Jang-seon visits Dongju, instantly raising his suspicion. Chairman Cha and Dr. Kang arrive, but Kang senses something off and kicks both visitors out, saying Dongju has limited visitation rights. Once alone, Dr. Kang tells Dongju he'll need to undergo a psych evaluation. Meanwhile, Guho picks up Jang-seon, revealing they've bugged the hospital room and are now eavesdropping on everything. Yun-nam visits Dongju's home and finds a photo of him with Sister Agnes. She tracks her down at the church and updates her on the situation. Sister Agnes reveals Dongju had memory loss once as a child, and she recognizes the name Seong-hyun, and Yun-nam says Sister Agnes should try visiting Dongju as it might help his recovery. Back at the hospital, Dr. Kang notices bullet wounds on Dongju's body. Dongju says he has no idea how he got them. Then, a hospital staff member shows up to escort Dongju for a test, but it's actually one of Guho's men. He sedates Dongju and wheels him out. Thankfully, Dr. Kang quickly realizes something's wrong. Dongju wakes up in Jang-seon's torture den, where he's being waterboarded. Jang-seon, of course, is convinced he's faking the whole amnesia thing. While Dongju is still being tortured by Jang-seon's men, at the hospital, Il-do, Yun-nam, and the others are visibly anxious over his disappearance, and Dosu warns them not to tell Chairman Cha, fearing the shock might worsen his condition. Meanwhile, one of Jang-seon's contacts suggests Dongju might actually have amnesia. After dropping Sister Agnes off at church, Yun-nam learns something huge. Seong-hyun was Dongju's childhood name, which he'd forgotten over time. Back at the hospital, the chairman finally realizes Dongju is missing. In the torture chamber, Dongju suddenly goes limp. When the men untie him, thinking he's unconscious, He springs into action, knocks them out, and makes a break for it. As he's nearly recaptured by Jang Seon's guy outside, Il-do shows up out of nowhere and saves him. Dongju asks to see the chairman, and Il-do brings him home, with Jang Seon tagging along, pretending he was the one who rescued Dongju. When the chairman mentions getting the cops involved, Il-do conveniently brings up the gunshot wound on Dongju, trying to steer the conversation away. What Il-do doesn't realize is that Dongju remembers exactly who pulled the trigger. Still, Dongju plays along and insists on keeping the police out of it. The chairman then decides that Dongju should stay in his house for now. Later, Il-do and Jang Seon have a shady little chat, and Il-do pressures Jang Seon, pointing out that the chairman might discover the password to the massive fortune is stored in Dongju's memory. Il-do threatens to expose everything unless he gets a cut, and Jang Seon agrees to hand over 10%, but demands Il-do retrieve the password first. In the Cha household, Dongju is being looked after by Chef Jae-pil and Secretary Gong. When Gong gives him a familiar raw egg drink, he questions her about the name Seong-hyun and the car crash he keeps dreaming about. She brushes it off, but it is obvious that she is shaken. That night, Dongju wakes up and heads to the home gym where Il-do finds him mid-pull-up session. The tension explodes when Dongju bluntly asks Il-do if he was the one who shot him. Il-do dodges, claiming Dongju's memories are jumbled, and Dongju pretends to believe him. He heads back to his room, but Il-do grabs a dumbbell and starts following, until Dae-ok shows up with his herbal tonic and breaks the moment. Il-do later calls Dongju and claims he knows how to restore his memory. He takes him to Dr. Kang Il-hyun, the daughter of his old friend, and asks her to help with hypnotherapy. Later, while driving with his friend, Il-do reminisces about the old days with Dae-ok, Sunho, and himself, giving us a glimpse into deeper past connections. During the session, Dongju remembers flashes of a car ride, a man driving, and a little girl in the back seat. Meanwhile, Jang Seon is schmoozing a politician and faking confidence about his hold on the National Fund. Il-do updates him on the hypnotherapy, and soon after, Jang Seon contacts Un-nam, saying he wants to talk. Things take a brutal turn at the end. Dongju wakes up from his session screaming, and after calming down, I-hyun offers to let him meet his sister. Un-nam picks him up, and during the drive, he notices they share the same tattoo. When they arrive, Sister Agnes is crossing the street, but out of nowhere, a truck barrels into her. The impact triggers a full memory recovery for Dongju. It's revealed through Jang Seon's internal monologue that the truck accident wasn't an accident at all. It was his twisted plan to jolt Dongju's memory back to life. At Sister Agnes's funeral, among the mourners is Yeom Jang Seon, who assures Dongju they'll arrest the truck driver responsible right away. But here is the twist. The driver turns out to be Yang Chun, one of the administrator's goons who previously tortured Dongju. At the funeral, a woman approaches Dongju, but he doesn't recognize her. Jang Seon is informed that the woman is Madame P, the one who raised both Dongju and Sister Agnes. We flash back to Dongju and Huicheol's school days, where they were both dragged to the principal's office after a fight. Dongju had stepped in to protect some younger students from Huicheol's bullying, but now the blame is pinned on him. Huicheol's father shows up, and Dongju boldly accuses him of bribing other students to lie, and Jang Seon is also present during this whole incident. Cut to another flashback. 8 years ago, Jang Seon is looking over photos of Dongju working at Dyson Energy. He claims Dongju tampered with the company's accounting records and seems determined to bring him down. Back in the present, Madame P reveals that Dongju's mother left both him and Sister Agnes in her care as children. She breaks down emotionally, and Dongju leads her to a separate room while Guho quietly follows. After a while, Madame P emerges and tells Dongju to rest until Mass. Elsewhere, Il-nam sneaks into the hospital in a nurse's uniform and smuggles Yang Chun into another room, where Dongju is waiting for some long-overdue payback. After the confrontation, Yang Chun ends up bound in a van while Dongju races back to church on a bike. When Jang Seon and Guho hear what happened, they are suspicious, but Dongju's timely arrival at Mass throws them off. Later, Jang Seon meets a shadowy figure, Assemblyman Nam Sang-cheol, who says the elder wants control of the Patriotic Fund. Jang Seon doesn't reply and hurries off, while Dongju, having sneaked through a manhole, secretly overhears the conversation. Jang Seon then meets Il-do and insists that Daesun Energy must be sold so he can get the money to pay the elder. Meanwhile, the administrator calls Guho, reminding him to push Jang Seon to locate Yang Chun. Dongju continues to dodge Yoon Nam's calls, and he heads to Chairman Cha's office and begins stashing soju bottles in the safe. The chairman walks in with Secretary Gong and asks her if she remembers a boy named Seong-hyun, once brought home by Yoon Nam's father, but she denies knowing him. After Secretary Gong leaves, Dongju reveals himself to Chairman Cha. Meanwhile, Deok-hui, Guk-hui, and Tae-yun return home to find Ji Seonu waiting outside. He asks for Dongju, but Deok-hui sends him away. Back at the chairman's office, Il-do walks in, and Dongju pretends he only remembers the safe's code, but Il-do notices how Dongju quickly hides the soju bottle when Guk-hui enters. Guk-hui reports that Yusong Chemical is pulling out of its deal with Decent Chemical. Il-do explains that Jang Seon wants Decent Energy sold, and Chairman Cha, connecting the dots, realizes he needs to pay Jang Seon off to make this stop. Dongju claims to recall the chairman kept the safe code in his pen stand, but a flashback reveals he actually planted a new slip of paper there himself. Dongju delivers cash and gold to Jang Seon, who tells him to keep chasing his memory. As he leaves, Dongju leaves behind Yang Chun's ring, which makes Jang Seon and Guho run to catch up with him, but Dongju grabs Guho's gun and holds it to Jang Seon's head, still feigning amnesia. He even threatens to shoot himself until Jang Seon backs down, calling it a misunderstanding. Afterward, Dongju returns home and finally allows himself to grieve over Sister Agnes. Later, Hui Cheol and Yoon Nam visit the Cha household with food from her in-laws. Yoon Nam goes to see Dongju, but he's cold, telling her their connection only brings misfortune. He urges her to move on with her life, but she hugs him from behind. Just then, Dongju's phone rings. That evening, everyone gathers for dinner, except Yoon Nam, who says she'll join them for dessert. When the desserts arrive, Secretary Gong casually mentions that the honey cookies from Yoon Nam's in-laws contain cinnamon. Dongju, who's allergic to it, immediately suspects it's a trap to see if he truly lost his memory. Still, he eats the cookies. As he walks away toward his room, he starts choking and collapses. Emergency services are called, and Dongju lies unconscious in Yoon Nam's arms, unresponsive. In a flashback, we see Yom Jang Seon telling Guho to prep some cinnamon, enough to kill Dongju. He also gives Il-do a backup order that if Dongju refuses to eat the cinnamon cookies, he should just kill him. In the present, Dongju collapses after eating the cinnamon cookies and is rushed to the hospital. Hui-chol quickly informs his aunt about the incident, while Il-do updates Jang Seon, telling him Dongju might not make it. Jang Seon casually drops a bomb, that he knows Dongju's real name is Chu Seong-hyun. A flashback reveals Il-do once brought Dongju to Jang Seon's house, much to his annoyance. Dongju handed over a letter from the chairman, which explained that Dongju couldn't be fired, but Jang Seon was getting gifts instead. The letter also makes it clear that the chairman knows about Il-do funneling money from Daesun to Jang Seon, but he's willing to let it slide. Back in the present, at the hospital, Chairman Cha shows more signs of dementia, and Il-do confirms this with Do-soo, and he then tells Do-soo to report to him if there are any changes to the chairman's condition. Jang Seon arrives shortly, and Il-do confidently tells him that Dong-soo will not survive the night, but to Il-do's surprise, Dongju pulls through and survives. While the duo seethes in frustration, Madame P and Wonbae, Il-nam, arrive at the hospital. Wonbae discreetly hands Yoon-nam Dongju's old phone and a small package, urging her to open them in private. Suspicious, Yoon-nam wonders if Jang Seon is behind Dongju's poisoning. Later, at home, she watches a video of Dongju playing violin on a boat, found on the phone, and finds the bracelet he had repaired for her inside the package. A flashback reveals a moment between Dongju and Yoon-nam during a run. When he notices the scar on her wrist, he suggests they get matching tattoos, which they do, and she thanks him for helping her move past her insecurity. Meanwhile, Guk-hui gets summoned by prosecutors over lobbying executives from Yusong Chemical, but Jang Seon, when questioned by Chairman Cha, denies any involvement. After the call, he tells Guho he's done chasing the 2 trillion won attached to Dongju's name, as his sights are now set on taking over Daesun. Yoon Nam meets Hui Cheol during his lunch break and drops a bombshell that she wants a divorce, even if it means returning her Daesun shares. Later, she revisits the scene of Sister Agnes's death and collects CCTV footage from a nearby shop, spotting Guho in it. Then, while reviewing Dongju's violin video again, she notices a boat in the background. Zooming in reveals Il-do on board. Il-do walks in just then and coldly warns her there'll be a serious penalty if she violates the prenup, urging her to return to her in-laws. Elsewhere, Jang Seon meets with the elder, who is a shady politician, and pitches putting Il-do in charge of Daesan to use him as a pawn. Back at Daesan, Chairman Cha shakes things up, as he promotes Choi Gi-hyun to vice chairman, blindsiding Il-do. Cha then advises Il-do to challenge Jang Seon directly if he wants to prove his worth. Il-do later visits Gi-hyun's office, and playing nice, asks him to consult him on all company matters moving forward, while subtly revealing the chairman's declining health. Il-do meets with Yoon-nam again at Hui Cheol's home, and she says she is working on a plan to pay the prenup penalty, but she still wants a divorce. She calls Hui Cheol out for treating her like a trophy since he found out about Dongju. After he leaves, she sends Jang Seon the screenshots of Gu-ho and Il-do from her video evidence. Meanwhile, at Daesan, Guk-hui tries accessing the inner safe, but the code doesn't work. Il-do catches her and learns she had stolen the codes a while back. He keeps quiet about her attempt, but once she storms out, he compares her code slip with his and realizes Dongju must have changed the combination on the same day the chairman had him withdraw dollars for Jang Seon. A flashback confirms that Jang Seon gave Il-do a lethal injection. Later, Jang Seon contacts the administrator, who's still mourning Young-chun, and convinces him to carry out another mission, promising to look after Young-chun's family. Jang Seon also has Gu-ho arrange a dinner with Oh-nam and Hui Cheol. A flashback shows Oh-nam meeting with Jang Seon and offering the original photos in exchange for her divorce. And back in the present, she heads out to the dinner, unaware that she is being followed. At the hospital, Won-bae leaves Dongju under the care of a new woman. The administrator sneaks in, finds her asleep, and starts injecting Dongju's IV. But Dongju wakes up mid-act and tackles him to the floor, just in time to look up and see Il-do silently watching from outside the hospital room door. Jang Seon is in a disturbingly chipper mood, convinced that both Dongju and Yoon-nam are as good as dead. Over at the hospital, Tae-yun visits the still unconscious Dongju to apologize, and he reveals that he knows Il-do never actually called 911 the day Dongju collapsed. Unbeknownst to them, Il-do is eavesdropping just outside the room. Tae-yun feels disturbed, and he does not understand why his father did that. He begs Dongju to wake up before leaving. After Tae-yun leaves, Dongju suddenly regains consciousness. Meanwhile, Il-do hides in the bathroom, contemplating suicide with a syringe to his neck. But he can't go through with it. His inner monologue reveals that he is prepared to face the consequences once Daesan is fully handed over to Tae-yun. When he steps out again, he catches the administrator attacking Dongju, and in a surprising twist, Il-do jumps in to defend Dongju, knocking the administrator down. Elsewhere, the chairman is on the phone with Dr. Kang, discussing Dongju's condition. After the call ends, his phone dies, and he realizes, awkwardly, that he's been wandering outside barefoot. Back in the hospital, Dongju corners the administrator in the bathroom and is ready to jab him with the syringe, until the man reveals Jang Seon is now targeting Yoon-nam. Alarmed, Dongju calls her just as she's about to sit down for dinner with Jang Seon, unaware that a hitman is tailing her. Dongju teams up with Yoon-nam to flush out the assassin, then forces the administrator to order the hitman to back off. He also takes Il-do's phone and storms out. While the chairman aimlessly roams the streets, Ji Seonu spots him and recognizes him from his mother's restaurant. Seonu gives him a ride and even offers him his shoes. Meanwhile, chaos brews at the Cha household as everyone's frantic over the chairman's disappearance. Deok-hui blows up at Guk-hui for hiding the truth about the chairman's dementia and nearly slaps her, but Secretary Gong shuts it down with a sharp yell, telling them to focus on finding the chairman. Back at the hospital, Il-do releases the administrator, who asks Il-do why he helped Dongju, but instead of an answer, Il-do slaps him several times. Meanwhile, Jang Seon is still anxiously waiting to hear that Dongju is dead. A flashback reveals that Gu-ho once gave Jang Seon a dossier on Dongju when he first joined Daesan. It turns out Dongju and Yeonju's mother was Ko Yoo-jin, a former Iris nightclub worker who died young. Madam P arranged for another Iris worker, Seo, to sell his surname, Seo, to the kids. Jang Seon's wife recognizes young Dongju as someone named Chu Sung-hyun, and she recalls him always wearing a Daesan group badge. But Jang Seon insists the two boys are different, and what really happened to Sung-hyun remains unclear. Dongju arrives at the restaurant to meet Eun-nam, and as they head to her car, a man lying in wait attacks. Dongju takes him down, then uses Il-do's phone to call Jang Seon and vows to make him pay for everything he has done. After several wrong turns, Seonu finally brings the chairman home, But the chairman is still disoriented, and he mistakes Seonu for his son and doesn't even recognize Deokhui. Seonu gives Deokhui cookies from his bakery to pass along to Dongju and tells her he will come back for his shoes, which the chairman is wearing, but she tells him she will bring them to his bakery. Later, Yunnam shows up at Huichiul's workplace, saying Jang Seon wants to see him, but when they get home, Jang Seon denies it. After Huichiul leaves, Dongju walks into the house mid-phone call. Jang Seon raises a gun, ready to shoot, until Dongju switches the call to speaker. It's President Lee Cheol-yong, aka the Elder. Cheol-yong tells Jang Seon to back off and leave the finances to him. He's grateful Dongju didn't run off with the money, but also makes it clear he's not in full control. Dongju then delivers his own warning that revenge is still coming, just at his own pace. Ildo returns home and hears what went down from Deokhui. The next morning, Dongju visits the chairman and says he plans to bring Ji Seonu into the family faster. Meanwhile, Dr. Kang finds out Dongju's left the hospital. She helps her father with his phone and stumbles upon an old photo. Ildo, Sunho, and a young boy who looks suspiciously like Seong-hyun. Dongju also meets with Ildo and bluntly says he plans to use the secret of Ildo's attempted murder to his advantage. Dongju confronts Ildo, warning him that he plans to use the fact that Ildo once tried to kill him to his own advantage. Ildo becomes rattled and asks if Dongju ever lost his memory. Dongju admits he did, and we flash back to the moment he saved Ildo from drowning. Initially, Dongju had turned away, leaving Ildo to die, but in the end he saved him, not out of mercy, but for revenge. He later tells Wonbei that keeping Ildo alive was all part of his plan. The next day at Daesan, Ildo overhears Dongju telling Gi-hyun that he is calling a board meeting to officially appoint Gi-hyun as vice chairman. Meanwhile, Yeom Jang-seon shows up to inform Chairman Cha that the crude oil import for Daesan Energy has finally been approved, thanks to an order from the elder behind the scenes. As a thank you, Chairman Cha offers to transfer money to Jang Seon's Swiss account, unaware that Jang Seon no longer controls it. Things spiral fast as Jang Seon blows up when he hears Gi-hyun is being made vice chairman. Enraged, he hits Ildo hard during a private moment. Flashbacks reveal their disturbing history, where a young Ildo is being tortured by police for information, only for a young Jang Seon to show up and join in. Back in the present, Ildo, now bloodied, admits to Jang Seon that he didn't kill Dongju because Taeyun was there, clouding his judgment, but he promises that once Daesan is under his control, the elder won't have any more use for Dongju. Over at the bakery, Ji Seonu tells his mom about a recent confrontation with Chairman Cha. Soon after, Deokhui stops by, returning Seonu's sneakers and reminding Ji Yong-soo of her promise to stay far away from Daesan, and she threatens both their lives if they align with Dongju. As Deokhui leaves, she crosses paths with Dongju and warns him to stay away from her family. Still, Dongju sits down with Ji Yong-soo and lays out his latest scheme that she needs to marry Chairman Cha legally, which would position Seonu as a legitimate heir within the company. Together, they break the news to Seonu about his real father. Later, Dongju teams up with Taegum, his hacker ally, who has cracked Ildo's phone. They uncover a photo of young Seong-hyun with Ildo, Sunho, and Kang Seong, Dr. Kang's father, plus a list of properties owned by Ildo and Jang Seon. Dongju next visits Yang Chun, still held captive, who spills a secret that Jang Seon used to be tracked by a shadowy NSA unit called the Dandelion Team, which collected dirt on the rich and powerful. According to Yang Chun, there's a file on Jang Seon, but Dongju isn't sure if he believes him. Later that night, Dongju confronts the administrator, revealing he knows the man is actually Oh Jung-ho, the former leader of the Dandelion Team. Dongju proposes a deal that they should exchange the Dandelion files for Yang Chun. Jung-ho agrees to speak with Yang Chun first, but once Dongju leaves, he immediately tips off Jang Seon. Wonbei sets up the call between Jung-ho and Yang Chun. But Jung-ho's real plan is to locate and eliminate Yang Chun before the truth spreads. He tracks him down and tries to kill him, but Dongju swoops in and traps them both in his hideout. As Dongju leaves, Jung-ho cryptically mentions that he knew Dongju's father very well. That same night, Kang Seong sends Deokhui a photo Ildo had lost, the one of Seong-hyun and the others. Ildo looks visibly shaken, and Deokhui realizes she was the one who took that photo years ago. Back at home, Dongju is haunted by Jung-ho's comment, and a flashback reveals a time he was asking his sister about Professor Lee Sup-young after spotting her looking at his photo on a university website, but she had no interest in meeting him. Dongju eventually visits the professor's address, but finds Hui Cheol's father, Jang Seon's brother, instead. The man tells him Soop-young is abroad and breaks the shattering news that Soop-young wasn't his biological father. Ko Yoo-jin wasn't his real mother either, as she had adopted him. Reeling, Dongju goes to Madame P for answers, and she reveals he simply wandered into Yeonju and Yoo-jin's home as a child. Then she shows him a box of his belongings from that time, among them a Dason pin, some clothes, and the exact same photo from Il-do's phone. Meanwhile, the elder summons Jang Seon, furious over a secret investigation Jang Seon launched into his own nephew. But Jang Seon is just reminding him who really holds the power. Later, he calls Ji Young-soo, and after listening to her, he says it is not a bad idea. Elsewhere, Hui Cheol confronts Yoon-nam about why she returned, and she admits she is facing a penalty for breaking her contract, but Hui Cheol offers to divorce her instead, so she won't have to pay, and tells her to leave soon. Yoon-nam later finds Dongju waiting outside. She tells him she's getting divorced, then notices the photo in his hand, and Dongju is shocked as he realizes that the man holding him in that photo is Yoon-nam's father. Jang Seon is losing it on Hui Cheol, furious that he asked Yoon-nam for a divorce and put him in a tough spot. Hui Cheol owns up to using Jang Seon's name to get Dongju kicked off the rugby team years ago, which only makes Jang Seon snap harder, and he starts beating Hui Cheol. Meanwhile, Dongju shows Yoon-nam a photo Madame P gave him, along with a digital version from Il-do's phone. Yoon-nam instantly recognizes the man in it as her father, and Dongju admits he doesn't know who the child is. In a quick flashback, Dongju realizes Yoon-nam had blackmailed Jang Seon to get a divorce and protect him at the hospital. Yoon-nam returns home to deal with the fallout, and the chairman asks her how badly she wants out of her marriage. Yoon-nam shocks the room by offering to return all her shares in exchange for the divorce. Meanwhile, Secretary Gong finds Dongju waiting in her room. He shows her the photo, and she confirms that the child is Seong-hyun. Dongju makes her swear to keep his identity a secret, and she agrees, then hands over a book Sun-ho had wanted to give Seong-hyun. Dongju gets pissed when Secretary Gong tells him to let go of Yoon-nam. He says he's restraining himself from tearing everyone down to learn the truth about his father, only for Yoon-nam's sake. In his car, he flips through the children's book and finds a postcard from Sun-ho with a sketch of little Seong-hyun. He rips it up, crumpling the photo in frustration. Yoon-nam joins him and admits she might know the kid in the photo. She remembers Sun-ho once brought him home, but that same night, her father died, and she recalls her mother crying to Secretary Gong, saying Il-do killed Sun-ho, the boy, and the boy's mother. Later, Dongju is summoned to lunch by the chairman, but walks away, unable to sit at the same table as Il-do after what he has learned. He asks Madame P where he was found as a child, and she tells him he followed the train tracks to a woman named Yeonju's house and asked for food, just as Yeonju was about to OD. Dongju's interruption snapped her out of it. Following Yoon-nam's advice, Dongju searches for reports on the car accident that killed Sun-ho but finds nothing. He ropes in Won-bae and Tae-gyum to help investigate. Meanwhile, Il-do arrives at Jang Seon's house for a meeting, only to find Ji Young-soo there, which leaves him shocked. Dongju confronts Guk Hui in the chairman's vault, revealing that he knows she's been stealing. He offers to protect her, but only if she helps him. At a family meeting, Chairman Cha drops the news that Ji Seonu is his son, and he plans to marry Ji Young-soo to bring the boy into the family. Deok Hui objects, but Guk Hui and Il-do remain silent. Yoon-nam offers her support if the chairman returns her Dason shares. Tae-yoon mumbles a weak protest and leaves. Dongju visits Jang Seon's house, where Hui Cheol's aunt offers him tea. A flashback shows her caring for Seong-hyun, and his mother taking a photo of them. In the present, she accidentally mentions Dongju being there as a child before Jang Seon shows up. Jang Seon signs Yoon-nam's divorce contract and tells Dongju to take the money and leave the country, but Dongju fires back that he'll only leave once Jang Seon's dead. After he leaves, Jang Seon mutters that Dongju's better than his own dad. Dongju then meets with Chairman Cha, Young-soo, and Seon-woo, and the chairman tells Seon-woo to shadow Dongju at work. Afterward, he privately tells Dongju to marry Yoon-nam and run the company until Seon-woo's ready, as his grandson-in-law. Later, Dongju helps prepare Vice Chairman Choi Gi-hyun's inauguration party. And that night, Won-bae finds an old article confirming Il-do was at the scene of the accident and the only one who survived. Meanwhile, Jang Seon tells Il-do that Young-soo and Seon-woo are on their side. Later on, Kang Seong meets Il-do and apologizes for sending that photo to Deok Hui. The photo was taken the day Sun-ho died, and he refers to the woman in it as Gyeong-won. Dongju wakes up from a nightmare and rushes to Dr. Kang I-hyun, where he begs to unlock more memories. She shows him a video from their last session and suggests he try seeing the memory through the child's eyes. Under hypnosis, Dongju remembers that Il-do was following Sunho's car when a truck cut between them and rammed it. Sunho's car dangled off a guardrail, but Il-do stepped out, read a note from the truck driver revealing Seong-hyun and Sunho were related, then coldly got back in his car and rammed Sunho's car off the road, ignoring Seong-hyun's screams. As Dongju relives the horror, Il-do tells his version to Kang Seong, claiming he just wanted to talk to Sunho and Gyeong-won. He lies and says the truck knocked both cars off the road. In the devastating car crash that claimed Sunho and Gyeong-won's lives, Il-do, bloodied but breathing, crawls out onto the road. It is also revealed that the man who handed Il-do the DNA report before the crash is none other than the administrator. During the hypnosis session with Kang I-hyun, Dongju unlocks the full memory of the crash and remembers it was Il-do behind the wheel when the car veered off the road. Later, Kang Seong stumbles upon a video of Dongju's session on I-hyun's laptop. I-hyun, though, brushes it off as a misunderstanding. Back at home, Il-do dreams of young Seong-hyun morphing into Dongju, and when he wakes, Dongju is sitting right in front of him. Dongju shows him a news article about the crash, drops the bomb about who he is, and gives Il-do a choice. Either take Deok-hue and Tae-yun and leave Daesun, or die. Il-do flashes back to when he gave Gyeong-won a flower hair tie, the very one Seong-hyun once wore and Dongju now holds. He then calls Jang Seon with a chilling request that he needs a gun. To shield Yoon-nam from the truth, Dongju gives her the article, letting her believe Il-do didn't kill her father. Meanwhile, Wonbae tries prying info about the Dandelion files from the administrator and Yang Chun. Yang Chun hints at something hidden in the basement of one of the administrator's buildings. Tae-yun overhears Dongju's confrontation with Il-do. Yoon-nam, trying to reconnect with Deok-hue, shows her the picture Dongju gave her. But it only makes things worse as Deok-hue lashes out, and Yoon-nam turns to Kang Seong for answers. He insists Sunho and Gyeong-won weren't romantically involved, and that the child wasn't Sunho's. He explains they were all just close friends and student activists. When Yoon-nam mentions the photo, Kang Seong remembers giving it to young Seong-hyun. Elsewhere, Il-do meets with Jang Seon and lays everything out, and Jang Seon agrees that Dongju must die. Dongju and Wonbae take Yang Chun to the administrator's property, where they discover two massive safes, both empty. Meanwhile, Gu-ho and his men find the administrator, and when Dongju and Wonbae return, they find him bleeding out. However, Dongju discovers a map hidden inside one of the administrator's books, which leads straight to the Dandelion files. They hand the files off to Taegum to transcribe. Wedding bells ring for Ji Young-soo and Chairman Cha, but the chairman falls into a memory lapse and refuses to get married. Jang Seon convinces him with Seonu, explaining that he has to go through with the wedding to save Seonu. Afterward, Secretary Gong drops a bombshell on Deok-hue that Seong-hyun is still alive. Around the same time, Gu-ho delivers Il-do's requested gun. Kang Seong keeps calling Il-do but gets no answer, while Dongju returns home to find a package, a DNA test confirming he and Il-do are biologically connected. Taegum also sends him a transcript of Jang Seon's conversation, which makes it crystal clear that Dongju is Il-do's son, not Sunho's. Then Il-do calls, saying he wants one last meeting to plead his case. Dongju agrees, and when he arrives, Il-do shoots him. Just as Dongju collapses, Jang Seon frantically calls to reveal the truth that Dongju is his son. Bleeding but conscious, Dongju chuckles and dares Il-do to finish the job while calling him father. In a flashback, we see that Yeom Jang Seon is the one who sent Dongju the DNA results connecting him to Il-do. Right after, Il-do prepares to leave home, but Deok-hue, clearly rattled, asks him straight up if he would kill Seong-hyun again if he had the chance. Il-do says he would, and Deok-hue drops the hammer that Dongju is Seong-hyun, but Il-do is unfazed as he already knows about this. Meanwhile, Tae-yun sees his dad heading out and tails him to a yard packed with shipping containers. In another flashback, Il-do and Jang Seon are talking after Sunho and Gyeong-won's deaths. Il-do was supposed to convince Gyeong-won of something, but she wasn't having it. Jang Seon's relieved Il-do handled her, then casually suggests he marry Deok-hue to become Daesun's top son-in-law. After Il-do bounces, another man joins Jang Seon. They vaguely chat about Gyeong-won, hinting she was some kind of activist turned spy, and casually mentioned that Il-do is Seong-hyun's father. This entire convo ends up on a recording Dong-ju finds in the Dandelion files, which he listened to in his car before confronting Il-do. And as we have seen before, Il-do shoots Dong-ju. Jang Seon watches from a distance, then calls Il-do to reveal that Dong-ju is his son. But Dong-ju's not dead yet, and Jang Seon tells Guho's men to move in as he realizes this. Il-do is visibly shaken, especially when Dong-ju confirms the truth. Tae-yoon storms in just in time and gets Il-do to stop. Dong-ju staggers to stand, and he threatens Guho's men with Il-do's gun before he collapses from the bullet wound. It gets even messier, as Il-do gets a text from Kang Seong saying Dong-ju might be his son, while Tae-yoon rushes Dong-ju to a small clinic, where Wonbae joins them. While Dong-ju recovers, Tae-yoon promises he won't forget what Il-do did. Then Il-do storms over to Kang Seong's place, where Kang Seong tells him he overheard Sun-ho and Gyeong-won talking about who Il-do's son really is. Later, when Dong-ju and Tae-yoon leave the clinic, Dong-ju urges him to go home and rest. Another flashback shows Il-do asking Sun-ho for help saving his father's dying factory, but Sun-ho shuts him down and warns him to steer clear of Jang Seon, but Il-do doesn't take that well. On his way out, he bumps into Deok-hue, and they end up discussing Sun-ho's supposed illegitimate child, ironically clueless about how off-base they are. Back in the present, Il-do holes up in his room for days, stressing Deok-hue out, until Dong-ju shows up and presents the DNA test. Il-do coldly says he still would have killed Seong-hyun, even knowing he was his son. Dong-ju is expecting an apology for the death of his mother, but Il-do can only justify himself by asking where he would even start, as his actions are not forgivable. Dong-ju tells him Tae-yoon's worried, then steps outside and meets Eun-nam, who is confused, and he asks her to wait a little longer before he explains everything. Elsewhere at their hideout, Wonbae finds out that Yang-chun escaped, but left the wounded administrator behind. Yang-chun heads straight to Jang Seon's house and offers his help. Il-do walks in mid-convo, finally confronting Jang Seon about all the lies, but Jang Seon mocks him, and Il-do stuns him by saying he is now siding with Dong-ju. Back home, Deok-hue finds the DNA test and is shattered. She talks to Guk-hue about removing Il-do from Daesan, calling him unfit to be Tae-yoon's father. Meanwhile, Chairman Cha and Young-soo return from their honeymoon, and Seon-woo moves into the house. Not long after, Jang Seon informs Chairman Cha that Dong-ju is Il-do's son and that he stole the National Patriotic Fund. He whispers something else, but we do not hear what. Later that night, Dong-ju and Chairman Cha share drinks, and when asked about his father, Dong-ju just references a university professor, Sister Agnes's father, but the chairman doesn't press. Dong-ju hands over the codes to his safes and leaves. The chairman then calls Jang Seon, who urges him to strike while the iron is hot. Dong-ju meets Il-do and reveals that he gave the chairman the old codes. Il-do says he has cut off Jang Seon and agrees to spill everything to Chairman Cha to turn him against Jang Seon. Right then, the chairman calls Dong-ju and says he knows the truth. He wants all three of them to meet at Dong-ju's place the next night. Il-do shows up first, saying the chairman's on his way. They drink and talk about guilt. Or rather, how Il-do trained himself not to feel any. They wonder what being a normal father and son might have been like. Then the doorbell rings. Il-do answers it, and gets stabbed by Yang-chun. Dong-ju fights back but is outmatched until Il-do makes a final move, as he grabs Yang-chun, hurls both of them over the stairs, and they fall to their deaths. Il-do dies despite Dong-ju's desperate attempts to save him. And at the funeral, Dong-ju confronts Yeom Jang-seon, telling him straight up that he's not welcome and sends him packing. Meanwhile, Deok-hue's already got her eyes on the prize, the inheritance, and she spills the truth to Guk-hue and her husband, and admits she is worried Dong-ju might come for Il-do's Daesan shares. Dong-ju visits Chairman Cha and Young-soo, but wastes no time as he asks Young-soo to leave, then lays into the chairman. He calls him out for the plot to kill both him and Il-do, and warns that if the chairman keeps pushing, he will make sure Seon-woo loses his spot in Daesan. He also tells him not to bother showing up at the funeral. Later, Dong-ju returns with Seon-woo in tow, and Seon-woo, who used to be uninterested in studying, now announces he wants to major in business, even calls the chairman father. It is clear that Dong-ju turned him around. Outside, Yoon-nam is waiting, and Dong-ju tells her the truth about who he really is. It's a gut punch for her, considering her hate for Il-do. Dong-ju wonders aloud if they'll ever escape the twisted web their parents left behind. At Il-do's funeral, Dong-ju pays his respects. A flashback shows a softer moment between him and Ildo, where Ildo asks Dongju to scatter his ashes at sea, the same sea where Dongju once saved him. More than anything, Ildo just wanted to hear Dongju call him father before he died. Dongju brings Ildo's ashes home, and over at the Cha household, the chairman loses it over the fact that Dongju took the urn. In private, he tells Deokhui to protect Xianu, to keep the family glued together. Then, Jongseon gets a call from the elder, who warns him that Dongju's accident has been traced back to him. One more slip-up like that, and it's game over. At Daesan, Chairman Cha realizes the code Dongju gave him is fake, which makes him furious. Dongju drops by again, trades some cutting words with Jongseon, then walks out. And Jongseon warns the chairman they can't let Dongju keep holding the keys to the kingdom. Dongju meets with journalist Ma Jae-yeol, who has been digging into the Dandelion files. Guho secretly snaps a photo and recognizes Ma as someone who had visited Jongseon. Jongseon later meets Sang Cheol, the elder's underling, and tries to buy his loyalty with stacks of cash and gold, hoping he'll remove Dongju from the elder's good graces. Meanwhile, the once hospitalized administrator is back on his feet and tells Dongju he's got his back now. That night, Dongju questions why Wonbei is so loyal, and Wonbei admits that it is not about friendship. He just wants to see Jongseon go down. Ma Jae-yeol joins the team at Tae-gyeom's shop to dig deeper into Jongseon's dirt. But Guho gets permission to investigate Ma, and one of his men swipes the dash cam from his car. They find the hideout and raid it, taking down Wonbei and seizing the files. Still, Guho later reports the original file is missing. When Taejum returns and sees the aftermath, she immediately calls Dongju. Dongju calls the administrator, who gets his men involved. When asked about the Dandelion files, the administrator hints there's an incriminating recording Jongseon desperately wants to stay buried. His team starts searching Jongseon's empty warehouses and properties. Then, Dongju receives a cryptic call from the elder, Lee Cheol-yong, and is asked to memorize a list. Dongju requests a favor in return. Cheol-yong calls Jongseon and orders him to release Dongju's friend. Jongseon agrees, but instead, Dongju gets a brutal photo of a beaten Wonbei. Seemingly defeated, Dongju hands over the Dandelion tapes on a rooftop. Jongseon burns them and mocks Dongju about money and his sister's death. Then, he orders his men to toss Dongju off the roof. But in a plot twist, a drone, operated by Taegum, appears in the sky. Suddenly, live footage from Dongju's watch camera starts playing on a nearby building. The entire nation sees Jongseon confess to murdering Dongju's sister. Dongju says the video will continue to circulate online, and he is not sure Jongseon will be able to hold his head high any longer. But Jongseon brushes it off, saying it won't really hurt him. Before leaving, Dongju asks him why he killed Ildo, and Jongseon replies that Ildo got too bold and Dongju made it worse by encouraging him to defy authority. As the video explodes online, the Cha family learns that Dongju was the one who hacked the 2 trillion won. Dongju then heads to the hospital, where the doctor says Wonbei was in rough shape. Wonbei claims he's fine, but Dongju still apologizes. Back home, Jongseon finds the elder waiting, and Jongseon suggests they call the video fake, but the elder is focused on the money, and he tells him not to touch Dongju until the funds are recovered. Jongseon tries to strike a deal by offering access to the entire Daesan group. Meanwhile, Cha Guk-hui teams up with Assemblywoman Sok Soo-gyung to launch an investigation into Daesan Energy's slush fund, even introducing her to the company's finance manager. Ji Young-soo brings this info to Jongseon, suggesting they frame Dongju as being involved in the chairman's hidden slush fund to get rid of him. Meanwhile, Dongju visits his sister's grave, and we flash back to a younger Youngju encouraging teenage Dongju to return to school while she becomes a nun. Back in the present, Dongju apologizes to her and vows to end everything. Then, he drops a bombshell on Chairman Cha that he wants to be made CEO of Daesan Energy. At the Cha household, Young-soo asks Deok-hui to recommend her as head of the family's foundation, but Deok-hui refuses, and things get heated, literally pulling hair kind of heated. But unknown to them, Seonu silently watches the drama unfold behind a glass door. Dongju warns the chairman that Jongseon has always had his eyes on Daesan. He reminds him how Jongseon nearly tanked the company by blocking crucial oil imports. A flashback shows Dongju meeting the elder and offering proof that he controls the National Patriotic Fund in exchange for reopening the blocked imports. Now, Dongju tells Chairman Cha he's the only one who can stop Jongseon. Just as he leaves, he runs into Yoon Nam, who begs him to walk away from it all. Dongju says he can't, not until Jang Seon is out. Yoon Nam reveals she knows about his real parentage. Meanwhile, Young-soo hands over part of the fund ledger from the chairman's secret vault to Jang Seon. She's also worried about Seonu being too close to Dongju. Jang Seon tells her to play the "he'll choose his real brother Tae-yeon" card, but Seonu already knows that. Dongju meets with Dae-ok and asks her to back him as CEO, arguing it's the only way to protect Tae-yeon's future in the company. Then he meets Daesan Energy's finance manager, who warns that Jang Seon plans to leak the slush fund scandal before Assemblywoman Seok can go public. Dongju beats him to it, hosting his own press conference where he claims someone is obstructing the National Patriotic Fund investigation. He also drops fresh evidence linking Jang Seon to Sister Agnes's death. Jang Seon retaliates by telling the press that Chairman Cha has dementia and that Dongju exploited it. The news enrages the chairman and triggers a health scare. He is rushed to the hospital with stress-induced gastritis, while Daesan stock crashes. A flashback shows Young-soo giving Jang Seon proof of the chairman's condition, and Jang Seon plans to scoop up Daesan shares while the price tanks. In the hospital, Dongju proposes a tender offer to protect the company, to which Chairman Cha agrees. Dongju gets funding from Madam P and Taegyum, whose late father was a finance heavyweight. Later, Chairman Cha forgets who Choi Gi-hyun is during a meeting, another sign of cognitive decline. Still, he heads to the prosecution service and reports what he knows about Il-do's murder, and this leads to Jang Seon's arrest briefly. The elder and Nam Sang-cheol interfere, and the arrest warrant gets denied. Jang Seon shares a drink with Sang-cheol and is sent home in a car, except that the driver is Dongju. Mid-ride, Dongju stops the car, injects Jang Seon with something, and knocks him out cold. Soon, in a news report, it is announced that Jang Seon has been missing for a whole month. Dongju jolts awake from a nightmare, where he dreams of Jang Seon killing him. Shaken, he pulls a gun from under his bed. Then, Il-do appears in a vision and tells Dongju to let go of the weapon as he has already won, and he should focus on being happy with Yoon Nam. Dongju visits a restaurant, unaware that Gu-ho is watching him from his car, and it has been a month since Jang Seon vanished. Meanwhile, Dongju meets with Chairman Cha and Choi Gi-hyun, and we find out he is now ahead of Guk-hwee in the race to become CEO of Daesan Energy. Dongju even suggests a merger with Daesan Chemical. Elsewhere, Guk-hwee and Ji Young-soo wonder if Jang Seon is gone for good or if he has flipped sides. Yoon Nam shows up, revealing she's now on the Daesan Energy board. Not long after, Dongju is officially named CEO and announces the merger of Daesan Energy and Daesan Chemical into Daesan E and C. Later, Yoon Nam bluntly asks Dongju if he killed Jang Seon. As he asks what if he really killed Jang Seon, Yoon Nam says he deserves to kill Jang Seon as he had troubled him a lot. In the chairman's office, Seonu demands to see the secret vault, and on the chairman's orders, Dongju opens it. He stops Seonu from entering, and he hides a takeout bag from the burger place. The chairman tells Seonu he will get the vault's password when he's ready to run the company. That night, Eun-nam and Tae-yeon reminisce near a ledge. After Eun-nam leaves, Seonu walks up and playfully shoves him. As Tae-yeon is about to fall, Seonu quickly holds him, saying he was only playing, and Tae-yeon should walk on his leg. In another scene, Dongju accompanies Won-bae to a law firm for his case against the hospital that falsely accused him. He is surprised to see Hui Cheol is the lawyer, and they trade jabs, but the vibe is more civil than before. On their way back, Won-bae asks Dongju if Jang Seon's disappearance was his doing, but Dongju stays silent. At Daesan, Dongju and Eun-nam try to visit the chairman, but he's out driving. They follow him to the bakery where Seon-yu used to work. The chairman sees them and realizes he's had another memory lapse. Fast forward a year. Gu-ho still keeps tabs on Dongju at the burger place. Dongju, Yoon-nam, and Guk-hwee talk shop. Guk-hwee now heads Daesan Vault and seems cool with Dongju. Bo-yeon, Jang Seon's wife, fires Gu-ho and hands him a severance package, telling him to stop digging. She then invites Dongju over, shares a childhood photo of him, and reminisces about his late mother. How even at her lowest, she chose the right path for Dongju. Dongju picks up a burger package and places it in the vault. After he leaves, a hidden compartment opens, and a hand reaches out, which is Jang Seon. He has been locked inside a small hidden room for over a year, surrounded by cash and gold. In a flashback, Dongju sedated Jang Seon and locked him up, even installing a mini bathroom for the long stay. Back to the present, Dongju visits, and Jang Seon asks what he wants. Dongju calmly says he wants his entire fortune, and as he leaves, Jang Seon screams, begging to die at home. Later, Dongju tells the elder he won't see another dime from the National Patriotic Fund. He has evidence against them. Taegum asks how, but Dongju keeps it to himself. Jang Seon wakes up to find the vault door open, and he bolts out. Dongju now officially sits at the desk labeled President Seo Dongju. But as he watches Jang Seon walk away, he is overcome with emotion and tears up. Jang Seon returns home, only to find it is now a kindergarten. At Daesan, Taeyun admits to Dongju that his job at Daesan Vault doesn't feel right, but Dongju encourages him to give it more time. They get summoned by Chairman Cha and head home for a family dinner. The chairman, battling dementia, is lucid enough to recognize everyone for now. Later on, in a tense moment, Taeyun argues with Deokue, saying he wants to leave everything behind, but Deokue insists that he will lead Daesan one day. Back at the office, Dongju talks business with the chairman, who slips back into the past mid-conversation. Dongju quietly thinks it might be time for a long break, and he gives Eun-nam the vault code, telling her she has proven she can lead Daesan. Dongju admits he got his revenge but no longer knows what's right or wrong, and he is leaving to figure that out. Later, Eun-nam drives Dongju to the coast, and as he walks away, she calls him back. He turns, they kiss, and then he heads toward the sea. At the Cha household, Seonu and Taeyun seem chill until Seonu suddenly returns and pushes Taeyun off a ledge. Meanwhile, Jang Seon is back behind bars. Dongju takes a yacht out, scatters Il-do's ashes, and brings out two guns, Il-do's and Jang Seon's, and it is a poetic farewell. Later on, Ji Young-soo and Seonu take a portrait with Chairman Cha. Guk-hwee runs Daesan Vault. Deokue is sick in a hospital, grieving. Eun-nam paints a yacht again, but this time there are two figures on board, and she asks Dongju to come back, even if just for a little while. If you enjoyed this recap, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and see you next time.